Good evening, and welcome to Future Choices. My name is Fran Snedeker, and I am the producer and moderator of this educational series exploring reproductive and sexual health issues. We are filmed at the LMC TV studios in Mamaroneck, New York. Just before Thanksgiving, when I went into Vision of Tomorrow to get my hair cut, I got more than a haircut. They introduced me to Hope's Door, a women's shelter here in Westchester with whom I was not familiar. They were holding a holiday fundraiser for Hope's Door to collect shampoo, soaps, and other essential toiletries for women in the Hope's Door shelter. Intrigued, I checked them out on the internet. A phone call or two later, I was talking to the delightful director, Carla Horton, who is here with us today. Domestic abuse, she tells me, doesn't just take place in far-off developing countries or in the American hinterland. It happens right here in our own communities, perhaps down the street from you and me, hidden by victims, often too afraid to or too ashamed to let anyone know. Carla, welcome.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
Do tell us, give us a glimpse, would you, of the women who come knocking at Hope's Door to seek help.
Well, you could just close your eyes and imagine any person that you know. It could be your sister, your mother, the soccer mom down the street. It could be the coach on your girls' baseball, softball team. It could be a teacher. The thing about domestic violence is it transcends all barriers. It's a rather equal opportunity employer, if you would, in that it doesn't matter what job you have, your educational level, your socioeconomic level, your religion or faith or lack thereof. It transcends all of that, crosses all those boundaries.
And what forms does it take?
Well, a lot of domestic violence does not rise to the level of a criminal act, especially in the early stages. But what we say to people is, just to have a simple definition that we can all get behind is, we define domestic violence as a pattern of coercive tactics. And those tactics have as their purpose getting and maintaining power and control over another person. So domestic violence can be emotional abuse, financial abuse, sexual abuse, before it becomes physical, brutal, or fatal.
How do people know about Hope's Door? So that you can extend a helping hand?
I was a little late today because my phone rang this afternoon, and it was a friend of a friend of a friend who knew about our work, and she called. She called me instead of the hotline. But most people call our hotline, which is 888-438-8700. It operates 24/7. People don't have to give their name. They're referred by their pastors or their rabbis or their priests, by the police, by the family court, by the criminal court. They look us up online, or as today's last caller was a friend of a friend of a friend.
And so, so this friend of a friend called. What do
we do?
Yeah.
What do we do? The first thing we say is, well, let's just chat for a few minutes, and we don't ask for their name or any information at that point, but we just say, why don't you tell us what's going on in your life? What made you call us today? Was it one big thing, or has it been building up over time? And so we try to get a sense, but we actually preface all that with saying, are you safe now? Are you safe right now? And if that person says, well, yeah, for now, then we continue. If they say no, and we've had people call us and they're hiding in a closet with a cell phone, and we hear pounding on the door, and we will say, please, please, hang up and call 911 immediately, and then call us back the first chance you get. So it depends on what happens when they call. Somebody may call standing in her nightgown in a December snowstorm with little fuzzy slippers on her feet, no robe, no coat, no gloves, no hat, saying, this is the only chance I've been able to get away. He's kept me, watching me every minute, every hour of every day. So please help me now. And so depending on what presents is what we do. But the bottom line is, we tell people they're not alone. We tell people it's not your fault. You're not alone. There is a place where you can go. And wonderful people like Vision of Tomorrow, the Rotary Club, the churches and the temples and the mosques, who all help us raise the resources that we need to say, here's a place that you can go.
And that hotline is 24/7?
Absolutely. We'll be working Christmas, New Year's, we worked Hanukkah, we'll be here on Passover, we'll be here on Easter, we'll be here on the 4th of July. It is absolutely free, confidential, and operates every hour of every day of the year.
And, okay, so they made contact, which is probably the hardest step of all.
It is the first step on moving from what we call being a victim to being a survivor.
Now, how do you help them keep on moving along that road to surviving?
I would say the number one thing that we can do is help them by bringing them in, going through a safety plan with them, helping them understand just how risky their situation is for them and perhaps their child or children. And I'd say the best thing we can do is put together actually a kind of comprehensive plan of what is it that this person needs, and generally it's women that we serve, but not exclusively. What does this person need to feel safe and get safe? And if that is, boots for her feet, a room in our shelter for her and the kids, maybe it's an attorney from our staff to help her with an order of protection, or to go for that divorce that she now just knows is inevitable. It might be coming for our counseling and support groups. And I would tell you, if you talk to battered women, most of them do not come through our shelter. People think of domestic violence services, they think of shelters and hidden away locations, and indeed we have that. But 4 out of 5 of the people who come to us, they never enter our shelter. They live at home, or they live in the home that he's been vacated pursuant to an order of protection with a stay-away provision, or they move out on their own. They're able to hold it together financially and emotionally, and they come once a week and join a support group. And it's where they can learn that this didn't just happen to them. They learn about the escalation of abuse. They learn, the tactics that abusers use. And they learn that not only because they recognize what happened in their own life, but there they are in a room with 6 or 8 or 10 other people all saying, oh, my husband did that too. Oh my God, my boyfriend did that too. I thought that only happened to me. And it becomes a very empowering time for them to see that many of them feel very ashamed or stupid, or how could I let that go on so long? But domestic violence doesn't start with a big punch in the face. Most of the time it starts with isolation, keeping this person away from family and friends. And that can start with something that sounds as good as, oh, I just love you, only you, it's you and me. Let's go away together for the weekend to Vermont, or let's go away for the weekend in Vermont. At Christmas time, no, I'd like to be with my family. No, I want you to be with me, but I really want to be with our family. When can we? No. And over time, always being told what you can do, where you can go, who you can see, just really wears a person down, just robs them of any sense of autonomy, the very autonomy and respect that the person demands for himself in that relationship.
I guess the hardest thing for a naive person like me to understand is why they don't get out of the relationship before it gets
It's
untenable.
like a brainwashing, for one thing. And when you've been isolated from everybody, and and like this one person that I was referencing, well, why don't we go away to Vermont for the weekend? When she insisted, kept insisting that no, she really loved him but wanted to be with family on Christmas, he went and had a big blowout fight. And when the next holiday came along and she wanted to go back again, he says, well, honey, I'm so sorry to tell you this, but your sister made a pass at me that last holiday, and that's why I don't want to be with them. A big, fat lie. But here's some person being lied to and manipulated and abused and degraded to the point they're like a prisoner of war in their own home. It's ground zero every day for them. And so why don't they leave? I understand that people ask that question, but the real question should be, why won't he stop? The truth is, leaving's the most dangerous time for an abused victim because of something we know and call separation escalation of violence. There's a tremendous spike in what happens because as long as she's doing what he wants, things can maybe stay at a lower level. But if she starts to get a little too independent, or God forbid goes for that order of protection, or maybe goes to the prom with somebody else, because this can happen with teens.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you worked with teens.
Well, in this particular case I was referencing, in my last comments, I was thinking about two very different women. One was Deborah Riggs Clancy. She was a high school sweetheart of Peter Clancy. You know, he's Harvard MBA, VP at Barclays Bank. They were together from their high school days through college days, through raising 4 children. She was the quintessential soccer mom. She was the Cub Scout leader. And she managed to survive to about the age of 40, 41. But within 2 weeks of going for an order of protection, he broke right through that restraining order and stabbed and killed her in front of 2 of the 4 children who struggled valiantly. I also referenced a girl who went to the prom with someone else. That's Elizabeth Butler. By the way, Deborah Clancy was from Cortland. Elizabeth Butler, 17 years old, was a senior at North Salem High School, I believe it was, and on June 5th in 2005, about a week or so after going to the prom with someone else, she too was not only stabbed, sexually assaulted, but left for her mom and dad and the sister and a friend to find in the family car. So what we know about domestic violence, dating violence, is that leaving is a really dangerous time, and that if you're going to leave, please, please call some organization like Hope Store and work with us, and we will work with you to develop a safety plan that you will keep on top of every minute of every day until you are in a place where you have a chance to get back the life that you used to have. Because 75% of the fatalities happen after leaving or announcing a serious intention to do so, which makes leaving, as I said earlier, the most dangerous time. But that said, thousands of women get away every year. They get away safely, they move on, they become the people they used to be, they become the people they were meant to be. They move forward, they know what a good relationship is, and they surely know the warning signs of a bad one.
And just to recap, the warning signs of a bad one are?
I would say the first thing to look at is, does this person isolate you from your family and friends? Does this person say, I love you, way too soon in the relationship? As things, excuse me, escalate over time, does the person put you down in front of other people? Minimize and make light of your goals, disparage your achievements or the goals that you have for yourself. And then, of course, all the things that we think of when we think of domestic violence. Does this person insist on having sex in ways or in times that you do not choose to share that with him? Does this person push you, oh, that was just a mistake, down to tripping you as you go down the stairs, and right through to the most horrific and brutal of physical acts, physical and sexual acts.
And what are some of the other ways that teens get into an abusive relationship?
It looks, and teens are different in what their environment is.
Right.
So there are actually some increased risks for teens. They're going to the same school with somebody, but we talk with teens and we hear the same kinds of things that older women will say, older victims. He gave me a cell phone and tells me to answer it within 2 rings, or what am I doing? He tells me that what I'm wearing is either inappropriate or makes me look like a slut. He'll take food out of my hand because he says I'm getting too fat, and he'll say that in front of other kids in the cafeteria. He'll When I tried to break up with him, we were on the ski team together, and he tried to trip me as I was racing down the mountain. He tells me what to do, where to go, who to see, who I can be with, who I can't be with, who my friends should be, who they shouldn't be, and God forbid I ever, ever, ever look at another boy. So again, we go back to the original definition. It's a pattern of coercive tactics that has as its goal getting and maintaining power and control over another person. And so what we work with when we work with teens is not only to get them to understand that, when many grown-up women don't understand that, but also we have taken a strong stand on not just talking about what's bad, what can be bad in a relationship, but what's good in a relationship. You know, we work very hard when we're teaching, you know, our kids how to ride a bicycle. We start with a little tricycle, we work with training wheels, we put on all the little bumper guards. But with dating, it's kind of like go out there. And what is it that you should be looking for? And teens can be very confused, as can grown persons too. You know, he loves me, he's so jealous of me, he really cares about me. They equate that jealousy with love. And then that jealousy becomes oppressive, and then it becomes demanding, and then it becomes constant, you know, accusations of infidelity when you haven't done anything. I mean, you now know you're not supposed to look at anybody. And yet, we think we have to move beyond that. We want young people, we want all people to have warm, close, and intimately wonderful relationships. What we want for ourselves is what we want for other people. So we tell teens, you know, the person who really loves you wants for you what you want for yourself, supports your goals. If a guy says, can we go to the movies? I'd like to take you to the movies on Sunday. And you say, oh, that'd be great, but I have a big geometry or trig test on Monday. The person who loves you says, well, fine, maybe we could do that Tuesday night once your test is over. The abusive, controlling person says, well, I thought you loved me, but I set aside that time for you. Well, don't you care for me? You know, and people, like, when they're young or even when they're older, they're like surprised when we say, the person who loves you wants for you what you want for yourself, shares your goals, shares your aspirations, supports the work that you do to be a person, the person you want to be. He doesn't put you down in front of other people. He praises you in front of other people. He doesn't take you away from your family. You share your families together.
Now, part of your program is not just helping people, but also who are involved in an abusive relationship, but also to try to reduce the amount of domestic or dating abuse that takes place. You work in high schools, do you?
We work in high schools, colleges, middle schools, and elementary schools, and Cub and Girl Scout groups. But most of our work is done in high school. We have a 3-part program called Love Shouldn't Hurt, and we actually go into schools and do workshops on what is a good relationship, what isn't a healthy relationship. How do you know the signs, the warning signs of abuse, and where do you go from help? And we designed that program about 10 years ago, and we did it after seeing research that indicated that that 1 in 5 teens or 1 in 4 teens, depending on the study, girls will be abused before they graduate high school. So we said, my goodness, we must do something. Clearly, we must do something about this. So we looked at the data, and what we found that was so scary for us as grown-up people is that 1 in 4 teens who's being abused tells no one. Only 1 in 4 tells a parent. But 66%, or 2 out of 3, will tell a friend. So we said, wow, what does that tell us we should be doing?
A real friend.
We'll tell a friend, be it a real friend or not. Well, what if that real friend doesn't know? What if that real friend, a good friend, wants to help, says, well, you should just leave him. Well, we know leaving's the most dangerous time, so you don't just leave. So what do we teach people? We teach them how to give their friends good advice. For example, if you're going to break up with somebody, you don't break up with them when you're alone. You don't go to their home to break up with them. You don't do that by yourself. Justin Woodward, a young man from Hendrick Hudson High School, felt that it was the manly thing to do, that when he was going to break up with his girlfriend, he felt that it was important that he be honorable in how he did that, and went to her home, and she stabbed and killed him a couple of years ago. So we've learned from the horrible things that have happened. So we'll teach young people, this is what a good relationship looks like. These are the warning signs of abuse. This is how you can help a friend. This is where you can go for help. And it's all about safety planning, safety planning, safety planning. How can you do it? How can you end this relationship? And for those young people, and we've had a few, who say, but I don't want to be like this. I don't want her to break up with me. I don't want this to happen to me in my next relationship. We make referrals for people who truly evidence a desire to change their behaviors. Because really, who wants to be the person nobody misses when you're gone?
Right. Now, Carla, what about, there have got to be some people that you encounter who are clearly in an abusive relationship, but they like, especially teens that I'm talking about, but they like being popular, and they don't want to be without a boyfriend. So they don't want to get out of this relationship.
Well, it's true of people of all ages. There are many factors that would conspire, if you would, to keep someone in a relationship that's not safe or healthy for them. It can be a teen who understands that in high school culture, having a boyfriend or a girlfriend is a very important thing. Women who feel that they don't want their children to grow up without a father. People who say, I can't even afford to do this on my own. What do you mean leave him? Are you crazy? What do you mean have him arrested? I need him working and, putting food on the table and paying the mortgage or the electric bill. And what we say to people is, you get to choose. We want the chance to tell you that we're worried for you. We're worried about your safety. We think it's only going to get worse. But in the end, we don't replace his power and control with our power and control. We don't tell someone, a grown woman especially, what to do. But we say, you're not alone. We're here to help. There's many things you can do to maximize your safety without even leaving the abusive person. And we work with them sometimes for a year or two or longer just on dealing with what's going on in the home, that she insists she's not ready to leave, and sometimes they never do, but they've learned strategies to better protect themselves. They learn things that can minimize the dangers, and some people do a safety plan that's a 20-year plan. I had a woman say to me once from Armonk, I am not going to have my children suffer because I made a bad choice. So I'm not leaving till my kids are through good colleges. I said, okay, you got a 20-year safety plan. Let's start with what you can do in year one. So when those kids are through high school and college, you've done all the things you think they need you to do for them, then we'll talk about what you can do then. So we don't tell them what to do.
So you just empower them to cope.
It's their decision. They have to be the ones in charge of their lives. It's their life. I'm not the one that goes home alone. I'm not the one who tries to make it on her own. So how dare I think that I have all the answers? Our role at Hope Store is to provide the options and to try to put that person in touch with other people who've been through what she's been through so that she could try to learn what they learned perhaps a little faster, which is why in our support groups, it's some support groups run, you come in, you do a 10-week session. We have people who come back time after time. We have homecoming events, holiday parties, where somebody brand new coming to us meets people that have been with us going back 3, 4, or 5 years who say, I made it. I came out the other end.
Wow.
I'm a financial advisor now. I'm a medical transcriber now. I do billing in a doctor's office. I'm going to get my paralegal degree. I'm whatever, fill in the blank. And what we say is, listen to them. It might be something you could do too, and you might not need to make it 20 years.
Now, am I basically hearing you say that there is such a widespread need of Hope Store's services in Westchester County, that you really
Yes,
do?
the answer is yes. And it's not
Right.
just Hope Store. We're not the only organization that does work with victims of domestic violence. We collaborate with a lot of different organizations who also work with victims. And if you added everybody up, it's thousands of people every year.
Right here in Westchester.
Right here in Westchester. And those are just the ones who
Who reach
report
out.
to the police or reach out to an organization like Hope Store, when we know that less than half of victims ever make a police report.
Now, how long have you all been in operation? How long has Hope Store
Well,
been?
we've been Hope Store just for a little over a year, but we were formed by the Junior League of Northern Westchester in 1980. And at that time, our name was the Northern Westchester Shelter. But in 2009, we changed our name to give a better picture of just how broad our work is. We don't just serve people from Northern Westchester, and we're not just a shelter. 4 out of 5 people never come through our shelter. They'll come to our counseling, they'll come to support groups, they'll see a lawyer on staff.
Lawyer on staff, counseling. How are you funded? It sounds as if you have a wonderful staff.
We hit up everybody we know for money. If I get to know you for another few minutes, we'll be asking you for help. But we get help from community organizations, the interfaith community. We thank the taxpayers of Westchester County because we get County of Westchester money. We get funds through state and federal sources. We have special events. We do an annual appeal. Our appeal letter is out as we speak. And if you haven't sent it in yet, we certainly hope your listeners will. And we put it all together and make it happen.
Seems to me I read on your website also that you have a gala event coming up.
April, I believe Friday, April 29th, 2011 will be our 31st annual gala party. And it's going to be, I think, an evening in Paris at one of the wonderful local clubs, country clubs. And all that information will be on our website as well.
Excellent. And okay, you mentioned the website. What is the website?
www.hopesdoorny.org.
The hotline number again?
It's toll free. It's 888-438-8700. Call anytime just to chat.
Excellent. Especially at 3 a.m. they probably.
Absolutely at 3 a.m. And like I
okay.
say, you don't even have to give your name. You don't have to tell us where you're from. We're not going to tell you what to do, where to go. We're just going to help you explore your options. And then if you want to come in and meet with one of our advocates, our attorney, join a support group, that all follows. But you're the driver of your life. So whatever that person chooses to do, we help support that and just do everything we can to make them aware that we're really worried about them. We're worried about their safety. We know these things tend to get worse over time, not better, without intervention.
Carla, you have given us an amazing amount of information.
Fran.
And I thank you very much
It was our pleasure.
taking the time. I do want to alert our friends and neighbors in Westchester that not only can you get further information about Hope Store on their website, but also a lot of links from Future Choices website, which, as you know, is www.futurechoices.net. I thank you for joining us this evening for this very important conversation with Carla Horton from Hope Store. I hope that you, if the moment comes, that you need to advise a friend, that now you know a wonderful resource to direct them towards. Thank you, and good night.